Good morning and welcome to Emerson Institute here at City of Light. I'm Reverend Dr. Paul Gretz, and it's a delight to welcome you to our class, Everyday Holiness, the Jewish Path of Musar. It's a wonderful spiritual path that we're discussing. It's all about living out our highest and best and how to be the best that we can be. I'm glad that you've joined us for this class, and this is class number 8. It's the last class in this series, but it's going to be a little bit of a review and a chance for us to set our curriculum. The final act of putting together all these wonderful pathways and deciding which ones we are needing to work on first, but working on each and every one of 18 different tenets of the Musar journey. We're going to talk a little bit more, but first let's just prepare for this class setting by taking some deep breaths. We're going to allow ourselves to kind of recenter, okay? This enables us to just get our frequency, our vibrational frequency, our thoughts, our attention all brought into the now, to this very moment. I'm sure that today has offered all kinds of distractions already. I know mine has. So I can see why it's easy for us to drift off to other places, even during our class setting. We want to make sure that you're focused and that you're right here in this moment, because there's some powerful things that we want to receive as the Spirit is ever teaching us. And as the Spirit of God is speaking to us, well, we want to be open to receive. So let's just prepare as we take some deep breaths. We're going to breathe in through our nose, hold for a brief moment, and then push out and release all stress and tension. Join with me. Let's breathe together. Breathe in and release. Deep breath in and release. Deep breath in and release. And in this moment of silence, just set that intention of what you desire to receive, what you desire to transpire in your life during this time that we share together. Just name it. Give it a name. I desire to receive insight, awareness, greater truth, greater awakening, whatever it may be. And so it is. Well, welcome to class number 8. We're discussing chapters 28, 29, and 30, the last 3 chapters of the book called Everyday Holiness. Now, we've been talking about this Jewish spiritual path called Musar. And Musar is this ancient tradition, an ancient pathway that goes all the way back to the times of Babylonian era. And it's the time when people began to really look at how to live out good ethics in life. And I think it's so important that we begin to discuss what are some good ethics and how to live ethically in our world, how to really radiate this sort of beacon of love and kindness and grace and mercy, compassion, forgiveness, all these wonderful attributes. How do we live them out to the finest and the highest and best? So Musar is a spiritual practice that's really not meant to be very time consuming, but it's really got some basic things for you to address and to hold in focus or hold in intention throughout the day. So it's not like it's a lot of work, but that we just need to do some directed attention and focus on these truths and allow them to rise up and do the work from within to be expressed on the outside or without. So here's some tips that the author is offering us as we close out our study. We want to encourage you to create a daily reminder phrase. So as we've looked at these 18 different attributes, and let's just kind of go over them real quickly. We've discussed humility, patient attitude, compassion, order, equanimity, honor, simplicity, enthusiasm, silence, generosity, truth, moderation, loving kindness, responsibility, trust, faith, and yara. We've discussed these different attributes over the past few weeks, and if you have the textbook, I really encourage you to go back and review. Hopefully you've highlighted them, or if you have a series of notes, you can go through and look through the notes and kind of just get a refresher of each one of these different attributes. But what's really important is as we set our curriculum, and this curriculum is going to be that every week for the next 18 weeks, you are working on one soul trait. And maybe you want to look through these soul traits that we've listed and say, I need to really work first. I'm going to start with generosity. Someone else may say, I'm working on humility. Someone else may say, I'm going to start with equanimity. Whatever it may be, you begin to set your curriculum and you begin to go through all of these 18 different soul traits 1 week at a time. And here's the tips for how to really allow them to be greater ingrained in our consciousness and allow them to do the work that we desire. And that is to create this daily reminder phrase. That when you wake up in the morning, it's really important that you remind yourself of the work you're doing in this soul trait. Just say, today, that's right, I'm working on humility. And today I really want to work on this and focus on this. And something that might help you is to create a phrase that captures the essence of the soul trait on your list. I want to embrace a sense of generosity. Maybe that's a soul trait you're working on. So today, I am going to be a giver. I'm going to give in unique and unusual ways. I'm going to stretch myself to find new ways that I may give of all that I may have, give of my very emotional energy, physical energy, my spiritual energy. I'm going to give from the tangible things, but I'm also going to give in ways that just can bless people's lives through smiles and kindness, whatever. So you just set that sort of opening phrase that you might go over. Today, I'm a giver, as example. That might be the phrase that you embrace for the whole week that just reminds you of the soul trait that you're working on. So put that statement or that phrase on a card or some sort of note place, so it's easy reference. Then it will remind you throughout the course of your day to say, oh, that's right, I'm a giver today. I'm really working on my spirit of generosity. And I'm looking for all different ways in which I can give. So I'm going to just practice giving. Maybe I am dropping something off at Goodwill or the City of Light clothing closet. Or maybe I am saying I want to give out to somebody. One of the great spiritual acts that they are suggesting, of course, if you have the funds, is that you cash $100 and put them into $1 bills. And you take that $100 and you give away $1 to 100 people during the course of the week. Wow, what a wonderful exercise of just being generous, of just saying, I can be generous because I know I can. I can live out this principle of generosity because I live in a world of abundance. I don't need to hoard. I don't need to hold back in any way because my consciousness is that there is plenty in this world. And I live in this cycle of plenty. And you know what? Here's the beautiful spiritual thing is if you want to attract more to you, you've got to create that vacuum that sucks in and brings in all that you're attracting. And how do we create that vacuum? By giving away. So the more you give, the more it creates a void or a vacuum space that begins to attract and draw more into you. So the more that you experience a sense of generosity in your life, well, the more it comes back to you. So, I'm learning to cook. And so today I am cooking for our class. And the more I'm giving away food, let me tell you, the more food's coming to me. Because I'm just amazed at how many, this past week, so many neighbors dropped by and said, oh, I made this for you. I made a cake. I made this. I made that. And I just wanted to drop by your house. Someone else who was a house guest for us who was visiting said, you know what? I went grocery shopping while I was out running some errands today, and I've got all kinds of groceries I brought in, and I'm going to cook dinner for you tonight. And I'm like, whoa, I'm getting an abundance. And this is this spiritual law that as I'm giving out, more is coming back to me. Well, it happens not only with food, it can happen with just about anything in your life. The more you give something away, the more you create this open space for new things to come in. We want to create this vacuum energy that says that the universe is now, we're attracting those things that we desire. So whatever you're desiring more of, start giving it away. So you're desiring more love? Well, let me tell you, start giving away love, and love will come back to you in the forms of abundance. You're saying, well, wait a minute, I want to give away some more grace and forgiveness. forgiveness will come back to you in abundance. Whatever you are, sharing and putting out is going to come back to you. And this is one of the great spiritual principles of our lives. So as we work on that soul trait of saying, I want to be a giver, I want to live a life of generosity. Let me tell you this. Generosity doesn't mean that you have to have millions of dollars or you're giving away, but just start giving some things that you have. And before you know it, you may say, hey, I have some leftover cookies and I created a little cookie box and I shared with my neighbor or whatever. You might find all kinds of these things that you just say, I've got a lot of things that I could think about just sharing and giving. Someone is keeping a lot of hand sanitizers in their car. And whenever they see the homeless, they roll their window down and give them a fresh packet of hand sanitizers. I could give because I've been blessed with abundance of these things. I can give them away. So before you know it, you start thinking of ways that every single day you're a giver. And then this spirit of generosity just begins to rise up within you. And you're going to find that you are truly in that divine flow. Because as you put it out, you're creating that vacuum that brings it in. And what you're doing is creating this divine flow in your life. So this is why it's so important that we understand that whatever we're working on, we want to create this daily reminder phrase that keeps reminding us, this is the soul trait I'm working on. The next aspect is to start with your meditation. And as you meditate, the best time to meditate or to chant or to do visualization is in the morning. And so what happens is, as you begin to engage in the spirit of meditation, quite often you'll develop qualities of awareness and concentration that, they're very helpful and supportive of the Musar practice. They're going to help you in this practice to expand and to really embrace these spiritual traits. So it's really important to take some time just to be still, to quiet yourself down, to be in the sense of centeredness, and in that place, allow that soul trait that you're working on to just rise up and speak to you. That's right. Maybe the soul trait you're working on is patience. Allow that patience to rise up within you and to speak to you and say, today we can do this. The energy of patience is there in your life. And you can exude this with a sense of calmness, no matter what you're going through, but having a sense of complete calmness in the day. So in that meditation, what happens is that quite often your awareness may wander and slip away from you. So here's a little tip. Keep your focus while you're meditating very inward. And to help you to do that, it's great to have a centering word. A word that just brings you back to the moment. So when you are in meditation and a thought comes to you and it says, oh, wait a minute, did you do the laundry? Or you've got to run this errand, or don't forget the doctor's appointment, or you need to make a phone call to a friend, whatever thoughts are coming in, your centering word brings you back into the sense of the stillness. That centering word can be something that you've chosen that really brings you back and speaks of this moment, or speaks or draws you in more into the feeling of being in the oneness with the divine. Some people have chosen the word love, grace. Some people have chosen the word peace. Whatever it may be, so that as thoughts come to you and try to create distractions, what happens is you just share that mantra, that word, peace, peace, and it brings you back into the moment. So speak that word, and what happens, it will clear your thoughts and return you back to the awareness of your silence. Allow this silence then to be this moment where, as you just release all distractions, you prepare now. Again, what you're doing is creating this vacuum in silence, because you are shutting down the monkey mind, that chatter that's going on. You're not speaking. You're not trying to tell God 1,001 things as if God doesn't know anything. You're in that silence, and what you're drawing to you then is the universe's voice that wants to speak to you when you create this void of silence. So a lot of times our problem is people are saying, I just wish I could hear from the Spirit of God. I wish that, I just get some sort of message, and I've been telling God, and I've been talking to God, and I've been yelling at God, and I've been screaming at God, and I've been beating the gates of heaven, and storming and beseeching and pleading and begging and all this kind of stuff. And I wonder why I can't hear the voice of God. Well, Maybe it's because you just need to be silent. You're putting out an energy. I can't hear you, God. I can't hear you, God. I want to hear you. I don't hear you speaking. I really want to hear this voice of God. And so what's happening is that's clouding the channel of where the divine presence can speak to you. So just be still. Be silent. And in that quiet, what will happen is you will then attract that very insight. It'll unfold for you. You'll begin to hear the direction and the very voice of God as you rest in that silence. Anne has a question or a comment.
When I was working on a paper for school, I found a Sanskrit mantra that I learned. A friend of mine taught it to me, and it's all in Sanskrit. And it came back to me a couple days ago, and I found it on YouTube. So I do it with the woman that's on YouTube. And this morning, I thought, among these attributes, there's nothing that says worship. And as I was doing this mantra, I got this wonderful feeling and this wonderful joining with God. And I thought that's the yara.
Yara.
The respect and the awe.
Right.
And it really worked, and I only do it for about 5 minutes. That's all I do it. Some people do it a lot longer. They go a half hour or so. But that really worked. It did. And it was a wonderful experience.
Excellent. So in that time of meditation, you just felt that divine presence. Yep. That's what will happen for us. As we're seeking this divine direction, the promise is that as we are resting in God, God directs, God will speak, God will guide. That wonderful, infinite wisdom will come to us and unfold for us. So start your day with the power of meditation in your life. Then, as you're concluding your day, let's look into a bedtime practice. What are you doing as you prepare for the end of the day? And that bedtime, sometimes it's really important for us to take that notebook that Musar is encouraging you to keep, a journal, where you've kind of journaled through the day of how your events went, how the events went, and how you were able to unfold the soul trait that you're working on. So as you look through that, you may be seeing, well, wait a minute, how is this happening for me? How did I miss the mark on it? How could I improve? And you're doing a little time of review. So maybe you're working on the soul trait of simplicity, or maybe you're working on the soul trait of compassion. And in each case, what you're doing is journaling a little bit about how you lived out that soul trait during the day, and maybe some thoughts where you might improve or do better. So in your weekly practice, also, you should do some reading around this Musar teaching, and maybe going back to the textbook. And if you're working on one of these soul traits, maybe read the chapter again to reinforce exactly what compassion is all about, what responsibility is all about, what trust is all about, so that you're like, okay, I really am embracing it to its fullest. So this helps you keep all these things in focus. Now, it's really not a lot of work in this spiritual practice. It's just some brief times during the morning, using that morning reminding phrase, and then, of course, maybe some journaling as you prepare for bedtime, a time of meditation, which is always great in the morning. But I want to tell you this. If we look at this ancient spiritual pathway of a Jewish tradition, have we not heard so many other authors of different traditions saying the very same things? Saying in the morning, set your course, make your decision. What is it you want to accomplish? Set the intention. And that's really important. You start your day out giving direction for the day. And then along with it, throughout the course of the day, so many spiritual pathways encourage you to journal. Write a little bit about the day. Script about what you'd like to see the day unfold. But maybe at the end of the day, see just a summary of how it did unfold. And you can look back and through these actions say, oh, wow, I see some growth. I see some development. And then, of course, the power of meditation is found within so many spiritual pathways, and really important for us that we learn the true spiritual essence of being still and knowing God. Just being still. It is there that you will know, and it'll be amazing what will unfold for you in this stillness. Here's another tip for you in the journey of honing the craft of being the best you can, it's great to maybe enlist a spiritual partner, a teammate, to study together, maybe to work or to challenge you. So maybe you're working together on the principle of generosity, or you're working on something like responsibility, and in that, you're both working on the same time, and you talk a little bit more about how it's unfolding in your life. Maybe you share some instances of how it's worked, or maybe where you found some shortcomings and said, I need to work better. But in that team spirit, in that partnership, you find someone who's an encourager to study together. I can't tell you how important it is that we find spiritual partners to help us. Often we think about prayer partners, but study partners are also essential for us. In the ancient Jewish tradition, it was that you never study scripture alone, but that you have someone else that also you can bounce things off, lest you look at a passage of scripture and go off in some crazy tangent on it, but instead there's someone who says, well, let's bring it back, or I see it this way, or let's just bring balance to what we're interpreting in the light of scripture. So it is with our Musar teaching. It's really great to have someone who's there to encourage you, to partner with you in the study, and to help you just vent your frustrations and speak of your great successes. Because I think it's really important that you spend some time, saying, this is where it didn't work out. And the encourager is there to say, hang in there. You can do it. I know you're working on patience, and I know you felt like you weren't very patient today, but you can do it. You're going to be even better tomorrow. The same thing with study. Someone maybe say, hey, did you look at this passage of scripture or this ancient truth that might support the work of patience that you're doing in your life? So it's great to have that team spirit of working together. The wisdom you are awakening to, I want to remind you, is not just for yourself. So you're learning, and as the soul expands, you have a great responsibility to share the things that you've learned with others. Now, here's the catch. Not everybody is ready to receive that which you have received into your life, not ready to hear or to embrace it. So you must use some discernment to really determine the level of a person's capacity and their need to hear what you have to offer. Because quite often we have this holy boldness that comes to us and say, oh, wow, I can't wait. I'm going to call my best friend and tell her, you need to work on some responsibility and you need to work on simplicity because I'm working on it and it's really great and here's what's happening. And they go, wait a minute, I'm not into all that. And they may not be ready. And they may not be ready to hear anything. And they may be also sort of maybe jealous or envious of what's happening in your life. And so all these things may be barriers. You want to have some discernment to say what's the best. You know, the scripture says that we're called not to throw pearls before swine. That simple analogy is don't waste that which is valuable to those in front of those who may not be ready, may not ready to receive, may not be open. So what we want to do is just be very sensitive and intuitive to that as we might teach slowly, bring something up. And as they say, well, wait, I love what you're studying. Tell me more about it. And allow them to open the door for greater conversation. But it's really important that we understand that this teaching is not just for ourselves. It's for us to share and to teach others. So as we learn about these spiritual principles and how to live a life with good ethics, we want to share this with the world. We want to teach others. You know, the very essence of the New Testament is going out and being the witness, going out and making disciples or followers of spiritual truth. And that calling is for each and every one of us, that we do our part to help share this good news, this message that is truly about spiritual awakening in our lives. Now, we must remember that the external will wake up the internal. The external is going to wake up the internal. And here's what the author is saying in that, is that the heart and mind are deeply affected by our physical actions. So you may be studying and you may be contemplating, meditating all about one of these spiritual traits. And it's all in your head and in your mind. But let me tell you this, what really seals the deal and helps it become more solidified in your life and really shape the soul the way you want to, it requires some action. So your external actions are going to impact the internal essence of your soul. So let's just say you're working on generosity. but you never act out anything in a generous way? How will you experience and how will you solidify the very soul essence of generosity in your life unless you act on it? So the same with patience, responsibility, trust. Your actions are so important. So how are you acting out the soul trait that you are working on in your life? And your external work will help embody that soul trait deep in you, into your subconscious, into your very being, your very essence of your personality. It'll be more ingrained in there based on your actions. So remember also that negative actions are going to leave some negative traces in your soul development. And positive actions are definitely going to leave traces in your soul development. So your actions of what's going on the outside is really leaving some traces of what's happening on the inside of your life. So let's make sure that our actions are in alignment with the desires of our heart. And
so for me, the negative things have just been a wake-up call. Wake-up call that the negative is not true, but I had to find it in myself, the real truth, which is the good. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Exactly right.
And how beautiful it is, because quite often in our world today, we can get caught up seeing the negative about so many people and finding our lives being caught up in judgment of others. Instead, knowing that there's good in every single person, there is good because they are innately created with good. Now, they may not be living out good to the highest and best that they could, but there's still good in them. Okay, that's the beauty. And so what we want to do is see the good, call the good, and as part of this sense of seeing the good is also with the soul trait of compassion. Because we're going to have greater eyes, or bigger eyes, shall we say, greater sight into the good in one another when we come from the soul trait of compassion. And we say, you know what? In the heart of compassion, I don't know what that person's going through and why they're acting out this way. But whatever it is, there's some hurt, there's some challenge, and my heart of compassion says, but for the grace of God, there go I. That could be me. And how would I like to be treated? With judgment or with grace? Or just simply exuding some compassion towards me as I'm working on my soul? So this is why it's so important that we exude this spirit of compassion, that we then are compassionate towards one another, and in that compassion, we will see and discover good that's innately within each and every person. Your core, your spiritual nature is the very likeness and image of God. Now, you may not be living that likeness out to the fullness. You may not be radiating that very image of God. You may not be the best one who's revealing the power and presence of God, but it's still there. That good is there. So what we want to do is recognize that good. And in the power of recognizing that good, I can't emphasize this enough, that you speak it, call it out, Call out the good in someone. And you know what happens? When you're recognizing the good in someone who's acting up or acting out, that negativity begins to be diminished as there's more focus on the good in that person. If you're working with children, who act up and act out, and maybe they're sassy and they're rude, or they're, just wanting individual attention. Well, one of the things you want to realize is that as you call forth the good in someone's life, the focus is, honey, I know, you could always say, you're such a bad child, you're acting out, you need to be punished. Or, honey, I know that you know the right things to do, and I know you're smart, and I know you're intelligent, and I know you know how to make good choices. And I know that there's really an intention within you to do the right thing and to be good and to be kind and gentle and whatever it may be. As you call that out of the child, it begins to rise up as we speak the good. Even though the actions may not be the best, we're speaking the good and we're calling it forth. Well, we need to do this with adults too. We need to do it with each and every one. Always call forth the good, speak about the good, note the good, call it out, name it, pull it out, shall we say, into the field of recognition that we're recognizing together. This is the good in this person. And as they do, as they begin to see the good in their own lives, their lives begin to change. And they begin to find possibilities. They begin to act differently. They begin to move less from a sense of victimhood into being more empowered. So it's really important that we are acting out our soul trait. Awaken the internal with the external actions. So the key thing is we might ask ourselves, how am I demonstrating enthusiasm? If that's the soul trait I'm working on, that everything I'm doing it with enthusiasm, with joy. Okay, so I'm putting joy into. Say, for instance, you're helping out with someone and you're cleaning their house and you go, do I have to clean? Or how about I put some joy in this? And I'm finding the joy of doing something that's kind for someone else. That's the enthusiasm we might engage, bringing a sense of happiness to the day-to-day tasks that we bring about. So we got to ask the question constantly, how am I demonstrating this soul trait that I'm working on? Now, this is so important that we understand that we are not finished. Even though we've come to the end of this class, you say, okay, I'm done with Musar, I'm finished. No. We have so much more to learn. And what we can do is realize that we can learn from one another. I love this concept that we try to live out here at City of Light, where it's not just top-down learning, but it's horizontal learning. So quite often we have engaged in this, like what's your takeaway? What spoke to you at the end of every class? Because it's not just the teacher imparting something to you, but it's you teaching one another and teaching the teacher. And we've engaged this in our Sunday services at the end of a Sunday talk, asking the congregation, what's your takeaway? People say, well, wait a minute, you're asking us to speak out in church and say what the Spirit spoke to us about? Yes, because we can learn from one another. It's not just someone being the teacher and saying, I know it all, and the student is looked at as, you don't know anything. But instead, I recognize the God in you is the same as the God in me, and the God in you is awfully intelligent. And the God in you is full of infinite possibilities and wisdom. And if that God is in you, it's the same God in me, and the same God in me is the same God in you. How can I say, well, I'm the teacher, and I know it all, and you're the students, and you don't know anything? Now, that would be ridiculous to even have that kind of thought process. But we can learn from one another, and we do. So it's really important that we are open to understanding that we can learn from one another. This morning, taking care of my partner, Robert, who is facing stage 4 cancer, I just wanted to let him know how much he's taught me in life. And he looked at me, well, wait a minute, you're the one with the degrees. You're the doctor. You're the reverend. You're the minister. You're the teacher. And I said, oh, Robert, you don't realize all the things that you've taught me in life. And I'm ever so grateful. And when we really stop to acknowledge that we are here to teach one another and to be taught, we are each students in this journey of this pathway, and we are each teachers. So there's going to be moments when we need to share, and we need to be that one who might bring light to someone else's pathway. And there are moments when we need to receive the light from someone else shining on our pathway. So it's really important that we embrace this exercise of saying, I'm going to learn something from everyone. So one of the exercises that is suggested for us in Musar is to make a note that says, every day, I'm going to learn 3 things from friends, family, or community. I'm going to set out to learn them. And I'm going to journal about what I learned. What did I learn from my dog? What did I learn from the experience with my classmates? What did I learn from my phone calls with friends? What did I learn about conversations and experiences at the grocery store? What did I learn? What did I see? And it teaches us to be much more observant and much more aware of all the wonderful lessons in life that are going on around us. So this requires that we pay attention to what's happening, pay attention to what's being said, and the actions of others that are really bringing about the good in this world. So you might really stop for a moment and think about, wow, what did I see that was good in this world? Well, driving over here this morning, what I observed was people slowing down, stopping to let people come out of parking lots and move into the mainstream flow of the road. I saw people pause and be kind and gracious to others. And I thought, what a beautiful lesson that we're learning right here and now in driving. It's just that it could be applicable in all life. Am I pausing to allow someone else to enter, to get in? Or am I hogging up the space? Or am I saying, excuse me, you wait in line, get your own turn? Or am I making an opportunity for others to step in? Am I offering kindness and gentleness? Wow, you could stop and think, how many other experiences have we been offered to learn if we just were observant and took time to pause and say, what's the lesson I'm seeing here? What am I being taught? What do I need to learn here? Because let me tell you this, your soul's journey will continue as long as you are alive in this physical world. Your soul's going to journey. It's going to go on. But it's also going to go on beyond that as well. But I want you to know that in this time, this lifetime you have here on this earth, that journey of soul evolution, it never stops. It's going to go on and on and on until the very day that you take your last breath. There's opportunities to learn, opportunities to expand, opportunities to evolve your soul. Some people say, well, you know, if I was younger, I'm sure my soul would evolve a whole lot faster. Let me tell you this, it doesn't matter your age. In fact, I want to say the more mature you are, you might find your soul evolving a little bit faster than you were young and less focused and very distracted and immature. So let me tell you this, your evolution of your soul is ongoing. Let it just evolve and grow to be the highest and best that you can be. Because this is what's so important here. That we understand that our goal is not to finish this book, but it's to be on the journey. And it's not to reach the end of the journey, but to continue on the journey. Because life is all about the journey. It's not about the end, it's about the journey. Oh, a lot of people say, well, you know, I'm working so hard, living so hard, can't wait till I get to the end, which is heaven. I can't wait to get to heaven and wait. But yet we understand that in the journey, we can experience heaven here and now. So if there is no end, then you're on this continual journey of ongoing, of evolving ever so richly and beautifully if you will just look at life as this ongoing journey, not seeking an end, but ever learning, ever evolving, ever moving forward to your highest and best. We're not created in our final wholeness, but we are created to actualize or realize or awaken to our wholeness. Okay? So as we come into this world, it's all about this journey of discovery, of self-realization. So as a child, you came into this world and you had this opportunity to learn and experience and to be enlightened and to have moments of awareness and aha and realization of more and more of your wholeness. And all through life, at every age, there's opportunities for you to experience. How am I unfolding my completeness, my wholeness that is there? Oh, it's there, but we need to awaken to it more and more and more. And we awaken to, wait a minute, this is who I am. I'm awakening to it. I'm awakening to this is what I am. I'm awakening to it. And every day we're learning more and more, and it's becoming more real, and we are more enlightened on it. And that's the evolution of the soul. And let us remember that you are a soul, and you should make the soul purpose, the development of the soul, your prime consideration. This is what your whole life path is all about. So your spiritual nature, I want to tell you, is more profound than your physical. And any material attainments that you may go after, your spiritual life is so much more valuable than any of these things. Scripture says, what will a man gain if he loses his whole soul? Will he gain his life? You know, the whole concept of it. But if you're willing to say, wait a minute, I am going to focus on not losing this moment of evolution, of spiritual growth and development during this course of my 90-some years on this planet, I'm not going to lose sight of that. Because what will you gain if you gain everything else, but you didn't come here what you were designed to do or fulfill your life purpose? And that's to grow and mature spiritually, to grow the soul and expand. So what we want to do is make sure that we've looked at these soul traits. Let's take a moment. Anne's got a comment.
Well, twice this week, I spoke of this book, and I was really, I came out of it saying, look at that, I'm a messenger. You know, I may not be a perfect prayer partner, but I'm a messenger. And the one time was a friend from Pennsylvania years back. Her daughter just took a job as the executive director of a Jewish-run assisted living center. And she commented that her granddaughter, was very interested in this Jewish spiritual path. And so I sent her a text picture of the book, and she thanked me profusely. And then yesterday I was on Zoom with a brand new lawyer doing a will and talking about school, and she asked me about it, and she said, I love science of mind. And those are two connections. You know, I walk day to day and I say, I don't have any connections, and they're also traits of being a messenger, and that made me feel pretty good. Yep, it did.
Excellent. I appreciate that. Great. So let me tell you this, Musar is not something you learn, it's something you do. And everything that we are experiencing in our spiritual journey, I don't care what class we're taking, it's not something we learn. It's something we do. Our problem is, in our world today, we all can be like sponges when it comes to learning. And we're very excited about the enlightenment that we get and the spiritual truth that we're receiving. Oh, that was so good. What's next? Let me grab this. Oh, let me get that. Oh, well, let me... And what we're all about is trying to absorb knowledge, and we're not doing it. So it's really important that we pause and that we do what you've learned, because the external will impact the internal. Excuse me. And as you begin to practice what you've learned, it's going to just enhance the journey of soul evolution and the soul traits being strengthened in your life. So let's check over the list of assigned soul traits. And those of you who have notes before you, you're going to find these 18 soul traits listed here. And what we want to do is begin to design our own curriculum of what we're going to be working on, working one soul trait a week for 7 days with an intense focus on developing this soul trait. And then we'll move on to the next soul trait. And for 1 week, we're going to focus on that soul trait. Now, so you don't all need to start at the same spot, but I want to make sure that you've accomplished 18 weeks and you've worked on each one of the soul traits. Because you're going to find what's really interesting is that quite often your patience that you've worked on and you've really expanded is going to impact your compassion. And your compassion is going to impact your sense of responsibility. And you're going to find each one of these things, as you work on, they all kind of interlock, and they're building blocks for creating the highest and best in your life. So let's take a look as we review them. Our first chapter was on humility. Humility being an accurate recognition of self, not too grand or not too diminished. Because a lot of times, remember, we talked in that chapter about having a sense of I'm just being humble. I'm not really much. I'm just nothing. I'm just little old me. And we think that diminishing conversation or that diminishing way we talk or dialogue is somehow being humble. But humility is a balance between having a good sense of self in who you are, that you can act humbly. Because it's those people who do not have a good sense of self, haven't self-accepted, they haven't accepted themselves for who they are the ones who have trouble experiencing humility or exercising humility. Because, wait a minute, they need you to constantly affirm them. And so they're going to say, well, wait a minute, I didn't hear you telling me about how fabulous, but let me tell you how fabulous I am, because I'm going to speak about my best accomplishments over the next few weeks, or what I've done this past year to be the greatest person. Because, honey, if you already know it, you don't need to talk about it. Because if you already know it, you've lived it, and others already know it too. So why do we need to bring it up, right? But it's a good sense of an accurate recognition of who you are, not diminishing yourself and not elevating yourself in a sense of arrogance, but finding that wonderful level of self-acceptance. I think these people who have found great self-acceptance and loving themselves just the way they are exude the most wonderful attribute of a sense of humility and a humbleness, that they're willing to put others first in that humility because they feel confident already in who they are. They don't need to be number one. They can allow someone else to take that space. Beautiful sense of good balance. Next, we want to work on the sense of patience. And that chapter is all about the ability to endure any delay, trouble, pain, or hardship. How well do you do with that? When someone creates a delay or some sort of hardship, and you're like waiting around and say, okay, I have no patience for this. You better, come on. You better make this happen really quickly. And before you know it, you realize, wait a minute, I'm so true when I say I have no patience. Oh, but I do. I just need to work on the patience that I do. I need to be able to just take a deep breath and know that all things are working together for good in the right and perfect time and the right and perfect place. And what's amazing, when we live by that, just say, breathe, it's all going to happen in the right and perfect time. It's amazing how when it does happen, you may look back and say, in 2020 vision, looking back and go, wow, you know what? That was the right time. Had it happened sooner, some things may not have been as good or whatever it may be, but it happened in the right and perfect time. And that exudes this sense and understanding of great patience in our life when we're willing to just say, no matter what I'm going through, it's all going to happen in the right and perfect time. Just be patient. Next is gratitude. That chapter is all about being thankful for everything and expressing gratitude and appreciation. I'm going to tell you this. One of the great things you can do in your day-to-day journey is talk to yourself and express gratitude. Gratitude for yourself, gratitude for the world around you. Do a little morning gratitude walk around the house. Oh, I'm so grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. I love my house. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful for, the water. I'm grateful for that I'm drinking out of the faucet. I'm grateful for this cup of coffee. Just a sense of great gratitude for the small things in life will enable you to have even greater gratitude for some of the larger things in life. And it enables you to, teaches you the power of being appreciative and grateful even in advance of what's coming next, of that what you're believing for. I've already exuded the spirit of thankfulness and of gratitude. And let me tell you this, in the Ho'oponopono healing journey, this wonderful Hawaiian tradition, there are 4 phrases that are so powerful that we need to engage in our conversation every single day. I love you. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. And thank you. These are power words, and they're power phrases because they exude a feeling and an energy and a vibrational level that we need to be sharing on a consistent manner and a regular basis in the day-to-day journey. So let there be opportunities when you can say, I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Did I get in your way? Oh, I'm sorry. And that just expresses a sense of compassion for one another, and using that phrase constantly enables you to be able to release and let go of things really easily. And it also helps someone just relax. In customer service, one of the great words you can say is, oh, I'm sorry you're experiencing this hardship. And what does that do for the caller on the other side of the phone that's calling in and it's upset because the customer service hasn't been that great? It just lowers the level of intense energy, doesn't it? I'm sorry. I've heard this. And I'm really sorry you're going through this. And of course, these other power phrases such as I love you are so amazing. And please forgive me, how powerful that is. Just amazing, the energy around these. And of course, thank you. Thank you. Power words. Next is the chapter on compassion. Now, sympathy is grounded in being one with others that leads you to be of help for others. And this is what compassion is that when we have a sympathy that's grounded in being one with someone, this is what heightens the compassion within us. A lot of people say, I need to work on compassion. I don't feel very compassionate because they don't feel connected to the people in need. And it's really when so many people have had experiences of going out into the world and engaging with those who are in need, the compassion begins to rise up within them. I think every one of our politicians needs to spend some quality time within their constituents' environment where there is great need, where there's poverty, where there's challenges, where there's shortcomings. You know, we serve the hungry and the homeless, but let me tell you, if you go down and visit the camps where the homeless are living under the bridges, and you look at their lives as they're enduring the cold and they're trying to deal with all the circumstances of living outdoors, compassion rises. You go, wow, my heart goes out to you for all that you're going through. I feel a sense of oneness with what you're experiencing. Next is order. So you may want to add this to your curriculum because it's living in a way that everything is in its proper place. So you're allowing order to come into your life and living from an orderly way. And that order falls into perfect alignment when we begin with trust. So if you're working on trust as one of your soul curriculum traits that you want to evolve, let me tell you this, trust will allow things to fall into order beautifully. So as we take Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 to heart, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge God, and God will direct your paths. In other words, God will help you bring everything into order into your life. You're going to find this beautiful sense of orderliness in the midst of all kinds of chaos in your journey. Next is equanimity. This is a serenity, a peacefulness, a tranquility. We may need to really work on this essence in our life. How about honor? Giving high respect and respecting others in the world around us. Simplicity, straightforwardness, meaning being authentic and allowing some simplicity to come to our life, where we're not making life so chaotic and complex in the journey, but thinking, what do I really need in this journey? It's amazing how a lot of people think, well, I need all these bells and whistles. My dryer went out and I needed to buy a new dryer. So I went yesterday to hunt down a good bargain and find out, the dryer. And I was looking at all these dryers. I said, well, this one sings, dances, and shuffles cards, and this one for you will, it'll practically make coffee and make the bed for you. I mean, all these attributes. And don't you want one that plays music? And don't you want one that tells you exactly how much water is being, I don't need all that. I just want some simplicity in my life. Because every time I talk to the salesperson, I say, well, this is a wonderful model. Now, it does have a computer board that does, from time to time, break down and create more problems for you. So whoa. I think I want simplicity. Because all these bells and whistles, just sometimes they sound great, but I don't really need them. But there are more opportunities for something to break down and cause more challenges for me. So let me just simplify my life. And how about this lovely model here that promises to dry my clothes and has some great award-winning customer service awards and saying, people are really satisfied with it. That's great. I don't need, it's like these refrigerators that, you press a button on the door and it'll tell you how many eggs are inside. Like what? I can't open the door? Okay, but how simple it would be, just open the door and look. But no, I want to look on the door and the door will tell me how many eggs I have in the refrigerator. Lord, I'm like, okay, maybe we need to think about simplifying our life because the more these gadgets come into our world, well, the more they break down, the more complex, the more challenges you have, the more chaos we're at. So how much are we inviting in? I'm not poo-pooing. If you love these things, go ahead and go for it. But just know, if we're working on simplicity, we may want to look at those things and say, what do I really need in the journey of life? And what are some of these things that they look good, but I don't really need them? After a while, I wonder, why do I have them? It causes more challenges than what they're really worth. So let's move on. How about enthusiasm? This spiritual trait is all about doing all things with passion and energy. Let me tell you, your whole day is going to change if you engage in every aspect of what you're doing with a great passion and an excitement and some sort of level of enthusiasm. Next is silence, being quiet, restraining our speech. Zip it. There's times when we just don't need to say anything, do we? Just let it go. I got to have the last word. Just let it go. Learn the wonderful gift of silence and just going, That sometimes is the best response in life. Or, oh, or, you just, just zip it up and don't even say anything, but just have an acknowledgement. Oh, I heard that. Yeah. I don't need to give you my 2 cents because you're probably not going to receive it anyway. So just learn to be in that silence. Generosity, giving freely without sense of selfishness. Truth, accurate speech, being real clear and honest in everything that we say. Moderation, which is simply not too much and not too little. Because a lot of times people think in life, I need to live with less, or more, but it's moderation that finds that balance. How much do you really need as we look at the simplicity and what really creates a level of moderation? So it's not like I'm going to go without everything or I'm going to have everything, but what's maybe a moderate place for me to live and exist in? So that's why it's really great. We think all things in moderation. Scripture even says, take a little wine for your stomach's sake, but it also says all things in moderation. So you might want to think about not wine to excess and not saying, I don't ever drink wine because I don't feel that it's religiously appropriate. It's that moderation that we find in our life. Next, loving kindness. These are acts that bring kindness into the world. Wow, how important this is, because let me tell you this, the spiritual truth is that the world was built on loving kindness. You see, God so loved the world, is this very essence, that he gave Jesus, the master teacher, to show us a way. This is the very love one or many that would exude the Christ consciousness and be teachers for us. The whole world was made in a essence. All of creation was made in the essence of loving kindness. It wasn't a vindictive manner. God didn't say, let me create man and I'll see, in a vindictive manner and see them punished and see them suffer. But no, out of love and loving kindness, everything is created in that. So let me tell you this, your world in the acts of loving kindness, and the more loving kindness you share, the greater your world becomes. And that's a beautiful soul trait. Responsibility, seeing the after effect before you act. This is really understanding what responsibility is all about. When you say, well, wait a minute, if I don't act, what happens? What's the after effect? Or if I act this way, what happens? What's the after effect? Oh, let me be responsible and make good choices. So, we become more responsible as we think about what's the mess I'm going to create that I got to clean up? How about we don't create the mess and then we don't have to clean up, and that's living the responsible life. That's a great chapter, wonderful soul trait for us to work on. How about trust? That's having confidence in others, lacking suspicion. Let me tell you this, in our world today, we have a good soul trait of trust, and they're suspicious of everything. Everything and anyone and any act and everything that's going on. Why did you give that to me? Do you have an agenda? Why are you doing this? There must be something going on here. You sent me flowers. Are you cheating on me? All this kind of stuff. There's this suspicious nature, and there's not a nature of trust and believing in the highest and best is happening in your world around you. How about the chapter on faith? And that is simply a belief in a higher power and working on emphasizing that belief. And the last one is Yara, which is this Hebrew word which really talks about a fear that is a respect and an awe that is a reverence. And they're woven together. That when you look at fire, there is a respect for fire and a reverence for fire. And we look at, we're terrified of fire, that we live in horror and stress and worry and anxiety over fire, but we have a healthy respect and a healthy reverence for it. And that balance is what really creates the Yahra that the Hebrews were trying to exude. There's some words in this chapter that says some words are better said in another language because they really engage more and they more. But we find sometimes in English, well, I got to explain it this way and explain it that way and this and that. And the word fear sometimes paints all kinds of different words. Word respect and a reverence. Well, these are our soul traits, and we've set our curriculum now. You have them in your notes. Then you may say, let me see which ones I'm working on first and where I want to start. And I'm going to embrace this journey over the next 18 weeks of advancing and evolving the soul. So we conclude our class and this wonderful work that we've done in this spiritual pathway of helping us to understand how we can live an ethical life. Being that person, that good person we're called the Jewish tradition may refer to. So we want to hear about your takeaway. We're going to go around our class and talk to our students and ask them to share what their takeaway is. For those of you who are joining us through live streaming, we'd love to hear from you as well. So if you're taking this class and you're live with us today, we'd like you to just take a moment and type in what's your takeaway from this class today or from the whole series. Maybe share a little bit about what's your first soul trait that you want to work on. That may be a wonderful insight as well. But we'd love to hear from you because we want to learn from you. And the insights and the comments you share are teaching us as much as we want to teach one another. So let's just embrace this horizontal learning experience as we talk about what's our takeaway. So let's go around the room and let's just begin with Anne. And Anne, tell us what spoke to you today.
That Musar is something you do. And with that in mind, I took 3x5 cards and I put each trait on a card because it was suggested in the book.
Right.
And I'm going to take, that's going to be my weekly thing. So I have them all here with a little comment, and I'm going to stick it in my mirror in the bathroom so that when I'm in there brushing my teeth and stuff, I can go over that. And also the mantra, the first thing in the morning, my mantra is I am healthy because of the virus that's going around. So that's eating into my subconscious, hopefully. So.
Beautiful. Excellent. Let's go to Brenda.
Our political system right now is pretty bad, and I was being very judgmental about everything that was going on because I felt I had it right. And then this morning I thought, you know, God is in me. God is also in our president. He knows what's going on. We might not understand because we don't have all the knowledge in the world and we don't always see. But we can't really judge exactly what happened because He is also God.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just something that came this morning that I decided I would stop judging so much because I don't know all the facts. Because He is God, I'm God, and it's not up to me to decide whether He's doing right or not.
Beautiful. All right. Norma, tell us what your takeaway is. If you don't mind standing up and coming a little bit forward so the camera picks up your voice. We greatly appreciate that. Just let us know what your takeaway is from today's experience.
As you know, I have been out of my classes for a little over a year, been out doing other things. And this was a great class for me to step back into. And I'm going to be here for a while again now. And it went down the list of all the things that I needed to be reminded of, because I had definitely gotten out of my spiritual practices. Although I still want to grow and I was still aware of a lot of things, this was a great class for me to step back into. So thank you.
Good. Excellent. Let's go to Steve.
My takeaway is we must remember the external awakens the internal. The heart and mind are deeply affected by physical actions. So we need to remember that negative actions leave negative traces, and positive actions bring positive traces.
Beautiful. Great. How about Dr. David Carter?
My takeaway is working on the list of assigned soul traits.
Okay. Working on the soul traits, the assigned ones, going through takeaway. Do we have any other takeaways from students who are viewing our class? All right. Well, we appreciate you all being with us for this journey on Musar. And we'll look forward to you joining us next week as we begin a new class. And we're going to be announcing that on Facebook and letting you know a little bit more about the exciting journey we're beginning next Thursday at 10 a.m. God bless you. We'll look forward to seeing you once again, either through our Sunday service at 11 a.m. for our celebration service, great experience of wonderful celebration of the divine presence of God in our lives on Sundays to set us for the week ahead, or join us for one of our classes. Stay tuned to all the exciting announcements that are coming up on Facebook. So look forward to checking these sites that you're seeing these classes on and for additional updates. And we're so appreciative of you having joined us for these classes at Emerson Institute. If you have found these to be of great value, well, what you love to do is when you receive value, give value back. That's a great spiritual principle. So we encourage you to make a donation to the Emerson Institute by going to our website at www.cityoflightatlanta.com. And there you'll find a donate button, and you can offer your gift, share your offerings, offer a donation, whatever it may be that you're inspired to do to support the ongoing work of spiritual enrichment through Emerson Institute. We're delighted as people have joined us from all around the United States, many finding this something that they can view later on. So we're finding that sometimes we have reached out to over 200 people with some class sessions. Well, this is offering this great insight, this spiritual enrichment, this information that is all about honing the soul and evolving together. Well, you, through your gifts, make it possible, helping us to reach the world with this powerful message. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and each and every one of you. And it's been a delight to share with you this opportunity and know that as we do, that we are on a journey that never comes to an end. God bless you. I'll see you next week.